Good morning, Andrea. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Doc.
All right. Well, can you believe it? The year is coming to an end.
How about that? It's time to reset, right?
Restock, restart, refocus. Yep.
Yep.
You know, and so I woke up this morning and I was trying to figure out, you know, what's a good topic of discussion for not just for today, but maybe for the next month or so, maybe a couple of months, maybe till I go to Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, in 9 weeks, 80% of people will have done what? What do you think they would have done?
Eating a lot of food.
Well, they've done that too, but in 9 weeks, what's one thing that they all have in common?
Oh, they make a new resolution.
They've all failed in 9 weeks. They would have failed in their resolutions.
Right. That's true.
You know, so we make these New Year's resolutions, and one of the most common ones that I hear people telling me all the time is, "Oh, I'm going to lose weight."
Right.
And I've done it.
Right. We all do.
Yeah, I've set that New Year's resolution, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to lose this many pounds," and some years I managed to do it, and then because it's just a New Year's resolution, by spring, I quit.
Right.
Then I put the weight back on. And studies have found that once you put the weight back on that you lost, so you lose it, you gain it, you lose it, you gain it. They said it's actually hard to lose it the second or third time that you put it on.
That's right.
And I hear a lot of people, you don't hear it as much as you used to, but they used to say, "Oh yeah, fat Americans," right?
Yeah, definitely. If you compare us to Europeans, yep. Or Asian.
Yeah, but that's what they used to say. They used to say fat Americans, but now, like I have on the slide, obesity, the epidemic is worldwide now. It's about the only part of the country where you don't see obesity as an issue is in the Asian countries, and they're starting to have a problem now too.
Oh yeah, because we have Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's and everything on all their corners too.
Well, they don't call it Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore. They call it KFC because they found there really wasn't any chicken. Oh, just teasing. But, it is a worldwide problem. And I went over to London when I went to Paris, just a month ago. There's probably just as many fat people there as there are over here.
You think?
Yeah, I was there. I saw it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's, in my opinion, we need to look at maybe some issues, what's causing the problem. And I remember, when I first got into chiropractic practice about, it was 30 some years ago now. There was the headlines in the Fargo Forum, the local newspaper. The headlines read, "Why are we having such a childhood obesity problem in the United States?" Or I don't even know if they said in the United States, but why is there such a childhood obesity problem?
Oh, there's so many contributing factors to that.
Right. But a lot, they were trying to figure out, they made the article sound like scientists are confused.
Oh, right.
And so I wrote a letter to the editor, and I said, part of the problem is that we're not teaching kids how to eat right. They eat Ho-Hos for breakfast as they're running out the door with a can of Mountain Dew.
Uh-huh.
And they're eating all these sugary foods and all these different things, and they're spending all their days on a computer, on a game, playing video games and all that. That's what I wrote to the letter to the editor, and then the president of the Mindac Sugar Cooperative here in this part of the country, he wrote back a rebuttal to me, and he said, "You don't know anything." He said, "Sugar's healthy for you."
That's hilarious.
Seriously, what do you think of that? Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah, that was his letter to the editors. So then I went back and I wrote to him. I said, yeah, I said, I don't think you know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. And it went back and forth a couple of times till the local newspaper, I think they got tired of us because they knew that we wouldn't quit. But, it's a serious problem and we can laugh about it, and here's kind of a jokester type ad, McDonald's making kids fat since 1955. But, in 1955, the food at McDonald's probably wasn't all that unhealthy.
Oh, probably not. I mean, they didn't have fake food back then.
Yeah, it was real hamburger. It was wheat, whole wheat type buns, things like that. But it was right after that the problem started to happen.
Well, right. When the food industry started, adding all kinds of garbage to our food sources, and
yeah,
as the nutrients in the soil depleted, and as we all got on the medication wagon, all kinds of things.
Yeah. And these foods, like the fast food, they used to be like a treat. Like I remember we'd come to Fargo and it was kind of a treat to go out and, we're going to have a burger and a chocolate shake.
Oh yeah. When I was a kid, like we never had pop or candy except, once in a great while, like a family movie night, my dad would go out and buy a couple bags of candy and pop. It wasn't common to have those kinds of foods.
That's exactly it. It wasn't common. It wasn't something that we saw all the time, but now that's what kids get. And I mean, here's what Mayo Clinic said. This is from Mayo Clinic. I wanted people to see that's not just, this isn't Kurt and Andrea's opinion. This is Mayo Clinic. They say childhood obesity. And they say that's where the problem that's where the solution has to start.
Yeah. Well, there's got to be a lot of solutions.
Yeah. So they say the main cause is lifestyle issues. Too little activity, too many calories from food and drinks. That's the main contributors to childhood obesity. And I'm going to say it's the main contributors to adult obesity as well. But they say, there are some genetic and hormonal factors that play a role as well. And they're saying digestive hormones can affect the signals as well. So they're not just saying it's all, this. And then here's what Harvard says. Harvard says obesity is truly a worldwide problem affecting countries rich and poor. There's no boundaries. Tremendous increases in global obesity rates over the past 3 decades have found that the epidemic shows no signs of abating. And even with everything we're doing to slow it down, it's not slowing down. They're saying that roughly 500 million Americans are obese. And they're saying that there will be 1 billion by the year 2030. So it took 30 years to get 500 million. And they're saying the next 500 million are going to come about in the next 10 years.
Yeah, well, I'm going to debunk their theory about, there are some genetic conditions that cause obesity. I understand that, but very little. When I was a kid, out of a class of 145 kids, we had maybe one kid that would be considered overweight.
Yeah.
In my school class, yeah.
One
and
child.
if you look at movies or commercial, like advertisements from the 60s and the 50s, people aren't overweight. Women have like 30-inch waists, all of them. It's crazy that they're saying it's all genetic. It's not genetic. I mean, if we were getting those genetic genes, that would be wonderful. But no, I think it's all the other contributions. It's how many kids are on medications nowadays. Like, what is it? Like 1 out of 7 kids are on medication. So you've got these foreign substances in your body. We've got toxins everywhere. We've got food depletion. We've got junk food everywhere. And people have become sugar dependent, which you and I've talked about before. We're all addicted to sugar now, and we're not eating like the typical food sources that people ate even 50 years ago. So
that's right.
I think it's our environment more than anything.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Mayo Clinic said. It's mostly environment, lifestyle type of things, you know. And they're saying that if we don't change it, they're saying half of men and women aren't going to be just fat; they're going to be obese by the year 2030 in the United States.
Wow. I guess I better dust off my Bowflex.
Right. And the studies also show that once you're obese, it's hard to lose the weight.
Right.
And part of that problem is, you know, when you're overweight, when you're obese, it's hard to exercise. You don't feel good.
You're not just hard to exercise, you're depressed usually. You have low energy.
Yeah, when you're depressed, not only do you have low energy, but you just don't feel good about going out and doing things. You don't want to be out in public. You tend to avoid doing things. And, you know, that's part of the problem as well. And we got to talk about that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's not just the weight. It's not just, oh, look at him, he's fat. Right? It increases your risk for diabetes, which is it's a life-threatening disease. Heart disease. I mean, heart disease is the #1 killer. And then you have cancer, which is the #2 killer.
Right.
And being overweight causes your risk of cancer to go up. So these are some serious things that people need to look at, because they're saying by the year 2050, what's the percentage of people in the world that they say will have cancer?
Well, it's 1 out of 2 now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's close to 1 out of 2. It's just under that. And they're saying that that's going to go up by a huge number. They were saying, I remember 10 years ago, I remember the CDC said that from 2010, when I remember reading the study, I remember it just stuck in my mind. By the year 2020, which is just in a few short weeks, they're saying that in that decade, in that time frame, that cancer rates would have risen by 50%, and it's happening.
Well, I'm going to declare that it's not. I'm going to declare that we're going to have such wonderful technological breakthroughs and a whole shift of mindset about what to put into our bodies, that people are actually going to get healthy. That's what I'm going to agree with.
You know, I'm going to disagree with you, because I think that cancer has become big business. And so I think they're going to come up with a treatment for it. They're not going to come up with a cure, because the cure is prevention, but they're going to come up with a treatment. So everybody will have, a great majority of people will have had cancer of one sort or another, and you will have gone through treatment of one sort or another, because somebody's got to make some money on you somewhere. I mean, you know.
Okay, so I just blocked all that out of my mind.
But you know, that's kind of thing. So when we talk about obesity, we got to talk about a BMI, and that's a calculation that takes account into your weight and your height. There's some limitations, like they don't really take into, like frame size. Like I got huge bones, so a BMI isn't 100% accurate with me. Right,
and it's not accurate. Well, I can't say BMI. I don't know about that, but I used to sell insurance, and they do the height weight thing, and so they had this whole chart determine if you're healthy. And I'd have these guys who were like playing hockey 5 days a week, and all muscle, and because they had so much muscle, they were heavier than what they considered the average person should be at their height. And so they'd get these bad ratings in insurance. And, we'd have to go in and prove to them, send them pictures and prove to them what they were participating in, to prove that they were healthy.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they say here. So the BMI does have its limitations, right? Mm-hmm. So we can't go totally by that, but the average person, you could probably use the BMI and it's going to be pretty accurate. And so they say that some of the causes of obesity is a poor diet, high in bad fats, high in bad calories, low in nutrition, sedentary lifestyle, people laying around. I mean, compared to when your parents and my parents grew up, I mean, nobody works as hard as they did back then. I mean, I'm not gonna say nobody, because I mean, I can look at my older brother and I look at his concrete construction business, right? I mean, they work hard.
Mm-hmm.
But probably not as hard as a concrete guy would have worked, say 50 years ago. But, you look at the farmers sit in a tractor and they push buttons, they move levers, and everything's automated. They're not out there working the grain like they used to, and all these different things. So, people just aren't working as hard as they used to. It's sitting behind a computer, sitting behind a desk. People don't sleep well. They say like 80% of people in the United States don't have a good night's sleep. 80%, Andrea.
Oh yeah, I believe that. And the older you get, the harder it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Bad sleeping habits. And, so I started going to bed now. I try to go to bed at about 10 o'clock. I was staying up till midnight. I don't know why I stayed up. I just stayed up because I thought, I can.
Right. We're an adult now. We can stay up.
Yeah, like a little kid, I can stay up. Nobody, you can't tell me what to do. But now I go to bed and I'm. It's kind of crazy. I actually wake up later, which is nuts. I go to bed early and I wake up later, and
I'm CBD oil you're taking.
I'm sleeping good. But I'm getting good sleep. I wake up and I feel refreshed in the morning. And then they just say that with an older population, we are going to have more obesity, and we are the oldest on the planet than we've ever been.
Mm-hmm. Well,
there's more older people on the planet today than there's ever been in the history of the planet.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But I was reading some statistics, because I like to read a lot, and I was reading some statistics the other day, and they were saying that this whole world population, overpopulation, whatever you want to consider it, they're saying that really in 50 years, it's going to be under control. We're going to start seeing that it's going to go the other direction, that we're going to see that the population is going to start decreasing. And I mean, it was just a big influx of people, as we improve living conditions and all this. And that's why I kind of disagree with some of these climate activist type people, because I say, look, humans have done a lot of good on the planet. We've made it so that, there's a lot more literate people. They can read. Back, 200 years ago, 9 out of 10 people couldn't read, right? And you look at the nutrition, as far as food. I don't know what the percentage of people was that were starving to death, but now we got food. I mean, it's not nutritious, but we have food, and we have people. I mean, most people can live in a house. They're not living outside in a makeshift cot, tent or whatever. I mean, so we've done a lot of good for the planet. Now we just got to we got to figure out how to, reverse some of the stuff that we did wrong, like all the plastic and all that.
Well, the cool part is the earth is self-healing, just like we are self-healing. So if we would quit contaminating it, it would heal itself.
Yeah. Quit using all this plastic. I mean, I really think that was probably one of that and chemicals. That was two of the biggest things that we did wrong, is that, about 50 years ago, plastic was like, oh, it's the miracle thing. It's going to make life easier. And we started making everything out of plastic. Everything was disposable because plastic breaks. I mean, I go to my mom's antique store and I look at all those toys from, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and all the glassware that she has for sale over there. And I go, that's the stuff that was made to last.
Right. Everything back then was made to last.
Yeah. Heck, we up until a couple of years ago, I was still using the couch that my great grandparents brought over from Germany in the 1800s.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. It had been reupholstered a couple of times, but it was from the 1800s, and we still have, family heirloom type stuff, silver and gold type of things that were made. And so, I mean, that's another topic, but so we'll get off that. But Dr. Oz said that diet soft drinks and sodas actually cause people to get fat.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, what can we do about it? Eat right. Teach people how to eat right. And I think it's not just you and I and those of us that are listening to the call and listening to this recording, eating better, eating more fruits and vegetables, eating more fish. Like, I'll tell you, just in the last month, I've made some changes in my lifestyle. And by the way, I've lost 4 pounds in 2 weeks.
That's awesome. Way to go,
Yeah.
Doc.
Yeah. And so what I've done, is that I've said, okay, 2 days a week, I'm not going to eat meat of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm getting my protein from vegetables 2 days a week. 2 days a week, I'm going to get my protein from fish. And 2 days a week, I'm going to get my protein from red meat.
Okay.
And that leaves 1 day. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do a 1 day of fasting per week, or if I'm going to have, 1 day that I'm going to call doctor's choice.
Right.
A free day. I can do whatever I want 1 day a week and not worry about it. But just think, if everybody did that, if everybody made a conscious effort to plan their week that way, wouldn't that force you to have better choices?
Yeah, that's the trick. The planning, the food prep.
Yeah.
You have to have things planned, or you're just going to grab whatever because you're hungry at the moment.
Yeah. But if you plan it just like I'm doing, I'm just saying, I don't know if it's the perfect plan, but for me, it's working. I've already seen it work, and I'm going to continue to do it. And so I'm going to have, like yesterday, I didn't eat any meat. It was a vegetable protein day. And that's all I ate. I made sure that I ate some pumpkin seeds. I ate a salad, and then I'm watching my sugar and things like that. But people need to make better choices. I think, based on, science and even Harvard agrees, that it's prudent for everybody to take a vitamin.
Oh yeah, you have to nowadays.
Yeah. I think utilizing meal replacements is a great thing. I think that we should all have one meal a day when we're on our meat days. We should have one meal a day that is a meal replacement, maybe every day. I had my sizzling chocolate shake for breakfast. That was my breakfast today.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Intermittent fasting. They show that intermittent fasting works. I know you know a lot about intermittent fasting. I mean, wouldn't you say that if it's done right, it's healthy and it helps with weight loss?
It helps with weight loss. It also helps with longevity. I mean, if you listen to the famous doctor from Harvard, his most recent videos, he's talking about, oh shoot, I just lost the word, what you were just saying. Intermittent fasting causing, a longer life, a healthier and longer life. So, I'm intermittent. I'm kind of intermittent fasting every day. I typically don't eat till 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And
Good.
so I've gone all night, and then I don't eat till 1 or 2. So you're looking at several hours there. I think it's 16 hours before you're kicking into keto or something like that. So I'm kicking into that every day.
Yeah.
And,
but if you take, and what if you said to yourself, hey, I'm going to have 1 week out of every month where I'm just going to eat once a day. So you had a 1 hour time frame, and in that 1 hour you could eat, but you couldn't eat anything the rest of the day for 1 week every month.
Well, I do that pretty often, actually.
Yeah.
But the people listening who might be listening to this, they might be highly sugar addicted, and they might be, going, because I used to be this way, where I craved food all day. It didn't matter if I just ate or not. I was still craving food. And just different things I've done through the years. I'm to a place now where I can pretty much go all day without eating and it doesn't bother me at all. So
That's right. Yeah, once you get used to it, I think your body, you get past that hunger pains, when it says, oh, you're hungry, and you get past it, and then you tend to forget, and you go to bed and you go, oh, I didn't eat today.
yeah, I just don't even hardly ever have hunger pains, but not like I used to. I don't have cravings, except for chocolate once in a while. But I've done a lot with. I used to use Garcinia cambogia, which is something that curbs your appetite. And I've heard Tom talk about, like, because we used to have weight loss coffee. You have to have a certain amount of that to actually lose weight, but if you have less than that, it curbs your appetite. And that's kind of how I got over my cravings.
Mm-hmm.
And then doing keto, because with keto, you're burning your own body fat. I think the important thing for people to remember here, because I've done it a couple of different ways, the important thing is that you do not want to be burning muscle.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, in the next slide, we'll talk about that. But okay. So go ahead, but just don't talk about burning muscle.
Okay, well then keep going, because that's what I want to talk about.
Well, I was just going to say, lower our stress levels. We want to lower our stress levels. And I mean, money is a major stressor, right? So we got to teach people how to make it so they manage their money properly. Even with the economy being up right now, they say that 70% of families are still living paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, I would imagine that's true. Even if they're making really good money, they're still living that way.
Yeah, and that's because the more they make, the more they spend, so they still live in that poverty lifestyle, what did my buddy say when we were over in Paris? He said, yeah, people live on a champagne lifestyle with a beer budget.
Right. It's true.
Yeah. But we got to teach children how to eat properly, because I think that's where it all starts. I mean, we may never get a handle on adult obesity, but if we teach our kids how to get it under control, then what's going to happen is that's going to lead to healthier adults, and then that'll lead to healthier children in the future. And that's really what, I think a lot of what we got to start looking at. And this diet soda, this diet food craze. I mean, holy cow. I mean, these food companies have jumped on this bandwagon and they're feeding us crap.
Oh, it is. Like, it's scary. Like, I bought actually some things that look like they're real food may not be real food. It's like,
that's right. Yeah. And now that I switched this new eating, schedule that I'm on, Andrea, I'll tell you, one of the things that I hate is that, I don't have seafood in my house, I typically, because I can't go catch it. I live in North Dakota. I can't go catch seafood, and there's no place to go fishing salmon around here, any of that. So I have to go buy it. And then, so I started looking at the price of meat in the store. I'm going, holy cow, I'm paying, $8 a pound for the seafood. And so now I'm going to start regulating size. I'm going to try and eat like only a quarter of a pound of seafood per meal. And that's a pretty small piece of salmon.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
4 ounces. Yeah. But so.
Well, I wanted to just interject something here, because you said teaching kids how to eat properly. We have these new food programs in our public schools all over the country. And 4 or 5 years ago, I was substitute teaching, and I was just shocked at the poor quality of food that our schools are giving our kids. Not only that, but they have a snack, like the school system I'm thinking of. They had like this little snack that came in kind of mid-morning. And it was, their choice was yogurt and something else. I don't remember now, but both full of sugar. And but the bad part was the yogurt wasn't even a brand name yogurt. It was some off-brand kind of yogurt that looked more like slimy plastic than yogurt. And I was like, seriously, this is what we're feeding our kids in our little program to keep them alive and healthy, and it's supposed to be nutritious. And my own grandchildren, when my daughter doesn't pack their lunch for them and they, end up falling off the whole take a lunch to school program and they end up eating school lunch, they start gaining weight. My granddaughter, who's 15, lost 20 pounds last spring after she got out of school from not eating their school food anymore.
Yeah. But, I mean, they hear this, like yogurt, use as an example. I mean, it's all over the news. You got a lot of, researchers that don't know what the hell they're talking about. And they say, oh, it's a good source of probiotics. Well, no, it's not.
No.
The probiotics that are found in yogurt, they turn milk into yogurt, but they don't recolonize your gut. Right. And then they say, oh, ketchup, that's the vegetable. That started back in the George Bush days, I think, right when they started calling ketchup a vegetable. Ketchup isn't a vegetable. Sure, it's made with tomatoes, but, it's not a vegetable.
Tons of sugar in it.
Yep. And all these different things, I mean, I can go on and on and on, but yeah, it's we gotta let people know what real food really is. And that's not what it really is.
And really, I mean, if you're seeking nutritional information, you're going to have to go out and find some good sources for it. Going to your doctor for your annual checkup is not going to give you anything for nutrition. I just heard someone say they have a nephew in medical school and they don't even have the 2 hours, 2 weeks or whatever class of nutrition anymore. They do not teach them anything about nutrition.
Yeah.
Not even on the curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of scary when you think about it. I'm looking at the time and so let's go to this last slide and really, folks, I mean, we've given you some common sense advice. We haven't talked about products. We haven't talked about selling you anything, all of that. I mean, just things that you can go out and do for yourself and your family, and you can teach it to other people. And holy cow, it's going to make a difference. If that's all you did, if that's all you got out of what Andrea and I have talked about today, it's going to make a difference in your life and the life of your family. But now let's go one step further. Let's go one step further and let's supercharge what you've done. I mean, let's take and throw a turbocharger on that Corvette, right?
Right.
And so Andrea and I were talking earlier today, and she said, well, what products does Sizzle have that really are good for weight loss? And I said, oh, let me show you. And so, based on what we've seen today, you see where Encompass 360 falls in, right? Encompass 360 is our multivitamin. For those of you that are not familiar with it, it's a really powerful multivitamin. And what I like about it is it's not based on the RDA or the RDI, whatever they want to call it nowadays. And because the RDA is the minimum daily requirements to prevent scurvy and rickets. It's
right.
not it's not the recommended daily allowance to keep you healthy. And so when you look at some of these vitamins, and I'm not going to name them, but some of the most common over-the-counter vitamins that are on the market, they're crap. You might as well drive down the road, throw them out the window, and eat the bottle. It's probably healthier. I mean, and so Encompass 360 is a great product. It's got great nutrition, and it gives it to you in a form that your body can actually absorb it and use it. When you take a look at the most popular multivitamin on the market, they say that I know the scientist that formulated it, by the way, and he said that only 3% of people can absorb what's in it. That's the most popular multivitamin on the market. So when you see a study and it says, oh, multivitamins don't do anything, well, that's because that's the vitamin they're using. And then we have fucoidan. And Andrea, wouldn't you say that inflammation causes pain? And then when you have pain, it causes you to not exercise. And when you don't exercise, you gain weight, right?
Right. And we self-soothe with food too.
Yeah. So fucoidan is great for weight loss. What about Eternity? Eternity, it has resveratrol. Studies on resveratrol show that it enhances it complements the sirtuin genes, and the SIRT1 gene repairs DNA. So wouldn't you say that genetically that Eternity could help you lose weight because it's helping with the repair of DNA because of the resveratrol?
Right.
So is it a weight loss nutrition? No, not specifically, but based on the studies on weight loss. And then SpectraMax, 74 trace minerals, 40 antioxidants. I mean, this is one that you've kind of become an expert on SpectraMax, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, I know a little bit.
A little bit to make you dangerous?
Yep.
There you go. Tell us a little bit about SpectraMax. Why is it so important for people to take SpectraMax? Why is it important to have 40 antioxidants versus just one?
All right. Well, first of all, you need the minerals, right? And they're essential minerals. So that means that your body needs them to function correctly. The 40 antioxidants, it's breaking down free radicals, 40 different levels, so that they end up being nothing. Like when you break apart one free radical, sometimes it turns into 2 free radicals. You break them apart and they turn into 2 or 3, 4 different free radicals. So what Sizzle has done is designed SpectraMax so that it actually breaks apart all those free radicals all the way down, let's call it a chain of free radicals, until they become undangerous.
Undangerous, that's right. So that's the importance of SpectraMax. And the age pill, anti-glycation. Think of it like this. I mean, I like comparing things to cars because I like cars. But if we take a look and we look at a car, a lot of people, they maybe they don't change their oil enough, and they have their Ford or their Chevy on the road for hundreds of thousands of miles. And if you open up that engine, you'd find a lot of sludge in the oil pan. And that has an effect on that motor. The motor's not going to be as effective. It's not going to be as powerful. And what's going to happen is not only are you going to have an engine that's going to be weaker, but you're going to have an engine that isn't going to get as good a gas mileage. It's not going to get as good a fuel mileage when it's on the road. And so that's what happens to the family car. But take a look at somebody that's got a Porsche or a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Bugatti, and I can bet that if you open up that engine, I bet there isn't a drop of sludge in that engine, because they know. And anti-glycation extreme, it removes that sludge. That's if that's all you know about the age pill, that's all you need to know. Do you want to treat your car like a Ferrari, or do you want to treat it like the family station wagon?
Right. Well, the other part of age pill is that it supports the production of our energy fuel in our cells, ATP. It supports the mitochondria, which are our energy factories. So if we have more energy, which is the one thing the age pill has done for me, like I can go all day long. If I'm working on things, I can go 8-9 hours straight, physical movement, So if you're moving, you're going to lose weight, right?
Yep, just keep moving. And then Balance D, we've talked a lot about Balance D. We've talked so much about Balance D that the company actually is in back order on it.
I know, right?
Right? I mean, and partly it's because you and I are talking about the importance of probiotics so much that people are going, holy cow, I need to take that product. I was out hunting this weekend and hanging around with my friends up in northern Minnesota, and we started talking about probiotics. That was one of the things we talked about. And I said, well, what are you guys taking? And they said, well, I eat yogurt. And I said, oh, man, I shook my head. I said, whoever told you yogurt was good for you?
Commercials.
Right. And they, it used to be that, okay, yeah, there was some acidophilus. And I mean, scientists believed that was good. But, when I was in my office, medical assistants in North Dakota would pay for people who were on welfare. It would pay for them to take Tums. Do you know why it paid for them to take Tums?
No, I think you told me before, but I forgot.
Yeah, it wasn't because people had stomach acid problems. Medical assistants in North Dakota used to pay for Tums because they said, oh, it's a good source of calcium. Right? So they had all these young people taking calcium. And all these young mothers, that were on medical assistance taking Tums. And it's like, no, because that's going to make it so you can't absorb your food. But anyhow, we just got to look at these fallacies in nutrition and just realize that, Tums isn't a good source of calcium and yogurt isn't a good source of probiotics. Balance D is a good source of the right probiotic. And it's not just acidophilus, it's other things that are in there, the prebiotics and some of the vitamin D. And then we have super omega. I mean, you're getting your source of good oils, EPA, DHA, your omega-3s, your omega-6s, your omega-5s, your omega-7s, and they all work synergistically to make it so that your body processes fat properly. And wouldn't you say, Andrea, that part of the problem is, we don't get the right fat. So then all of a sudden your body's going to make you out of the wrong fat.
Right. And we just did a call on that, 3 weeks ago or something. You discussed all of that.
That's right. Omega-3, fish oils, best source. Everybody that's gone vegan. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing and you're gone vegan, I'll tell you what, you're going to miss some key nutritional factors. A friend of mine who was a dentist, he went vegan. And next time I saw him, I looked at him, I said, holy cow, you look sick. What's wrong? And he told me he went vegan. And I said, oh man, go back to eating because you're going to die. But he didn't know what he was doing, and he was a doctor. And then we talk about sizzling, and I know you said that because of the fiber, it tends to bloat you up a little bit. So, you have to start with sizzling. Some people have to start real small doses of sizzling, but it is a good source of protein. And what makes our protein shake different than other protein shakes is something called denaturing. And what that means is that if you're going to try and get the healthy proteins out of whey, not out of the whey, but out of whey. Whey is the liquid portion left over after they make cheese. And there's a lot of good nutrition in there. And so what they do is typically they heat it up. Think about it like if you want to thicken up a soup, thicken up a stew, you just cook it up a little bit and the water boils off and there you got a thicker stew. Well, when you do that, what you're doing is you're taking the proteins and you're changing them. You're heating them up enough that it changes it. So if I'm trying to heat up the whey and make it so that I isolate out these proteins, what ends up happening is that I've destroyed them. I've denatured them. They're not natural anymore. And so with Sizzling, we take that protein and what we do is we use a filtering process where we filter it using these microfilters until we get to a time when we filtered out all the moisture. And then we take and we basically air dry it. So we don't heat it. So we have undenatured protein. Plus there's a lot of other good things, nutrients in there. And it's a good meal replacement. Like I said, I had it this morning for breakfast. I had a chocolate shake for breakfast this morning, Andrea.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. And Tom, when he came out with the chocolate sizzling just the last couple of years, he at first he said, I'm not going to come out with a chocolate until I can figure out how to make it so it actually tastes good. And this one really tastes good. You can mix it with water and it's got a good chocolate taste. If you like the vanilla, you can throw some fruit in it. And then we have Sizzle Ripped. And Andrea, this is where I stopped you before about building lean muscle. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about Ripped.
Oh, okay. Well, I just had some of that yesterday. Sizzle Ripped has been researched. A formulation of amino acids has been developed through many trials of, failure to get to it. And it absolutely is like, well, how I say it is it supplies your body with amino acids that your muscles need right now. Like it doesn't have to pull it out of the foods. It's like you drink it and it's going in, it's being utilized in your muscle immediately for repair. Like, how weightlifters, they'll lift weights and they slightly rip their muscles and then your body repairs it and their muscle gets bigger, right?
Yep, they become ripped.
Yeah, they become ripped. And so what this does is you don't have to wait for your body to process it and pull it out of foods that you may or may not eat that will supply that for you. And it gives you the perfect blend of amino acids to repair that. And I have a perfect example of that. When we first came out with that last winter, I was drinking it every day, 1 or 2 a day. And we had this huge snowstorm that came through, which we're going to have again this week, I guess. And it snowed all day, like all day long. And I went out, and it wasn't heavy snow, but I went out and worked for 3 hours clearing snow. It was heavy enough that I thought to myself, when I go in and sit down, I probably won't be able to get back up again because I'm going to be so sore. And when I came in, I drank some Sizzle Ripped, and, you know, I rested for a while, got up, had no problem. Thought, well, once you go to bed in the morning, you're not going to be able to get up. Your muscles are going to be so sore. They weren't sore at all. And I had a 20-year-old niece living next door who went out and shoveled for probably half the time that I did. And she got up the next day and her body was killing her. She says, I thought I got hit by a truck. She said, my back hurt, my arms hurt, my chest hurt. Everything was hurting me and I couldn't figure out why. And then I remembered that I shoveled. And so the second day, I mean, our snow didn't let up. So the second day we're shoveling again. Probably that day we did about 90 minutes. And she came, I said, well, I've got something for you. Come on in. And so I mixed her up some Sizzle Ripped and she drank it. And I asked her the next day, I said, so were your muscles sore that day? And she goes, nope, not at all.
There you go. Well, you know, Andrea, and we, you know, I hear you talking about the muscle, the lean muscle and things like that, and helping you so you can burn, you know, build lean muscle, which burns fat, it burns sugar as energy, which is really, really good. But some of the studies on the ingredients in Sizzle Rip, really, really important. I went to an anti-aging seminar about 2.5 years ago, perhaps. And they were talking about as you age, your body tends to tear muscles down and it doesn't build them back up.
Right.
So scientists were trying to figure out, how do we get the body to rebuild the muscles? How do we get them to rebuild? Because when you get older, it doesn't matter how often you go to the gym, you're not going to build that muscle back. That's actual studies, Andrea. So I see all these advertisements on the TV, you know, get to the gym, work out. And what they don't realize is that it's not going to work, because at a certain point in your life, your body starts breaking down muscles faster than it's building them. And so they started studying that. And then that's where they found these branched chain amino acids. And so this was actually developed to help senior citizens build lean muscle, even without having to work out. So like Andrea's saying, I mean, just imagine all you do is you go shovel your driveway and you build lean muscle. And that's what they found. And when you build that lean muscle, it increases your longevity. And then that lean muscle is going to burn the fats and the sugars. So that's the importance of RIP. So, you know, thanks for talking about that, though, Andrea. It's just such a great product, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is.
And then Fire and Iced Tea. It's a mango flavored iced tea. It's energy producing. It helps you so that you feel like you have more energy. And you know how many people in the world say, "Oh, I'm by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm just drained." And they go home, and I listen to them and I watch some of them. They go home and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they go home and they sit on the couch and they don't get back up till 6 when they cook dinner. And then they lay back down and they watch TV till they go to bed.
Yeah, half of America.
Yep, and Fire and Iced Tea will help you with that. Inner Chi, you know, why did I put this into the weight loss seminar? Well, because there are a lot of hormones that get out of whack. I mean, and without talking about specific hormones, we're just going to say they get out of whack. And Inner Chi for him, Inner Chi for her, we have specific formulations for both sexes. And what it does, it helps to balance those hormones out. And when the hormones are balanced, it's going to make it so you burn your fat efficiently. Then we have 4 Restore. I was just reading up on that this morning. L-arginine. It helps to build muscle. But, you know, it got the Nobel Prize, you know, back in '98, the studies on L-arginine, because they found that it helped keep the arteries clean. But L-arginine helped build lean muscle as well. So we've got a product called 4 Restore. And so if you take that product before you work out, you know, and sip on it during a workout, if that's your drink, your power drink, while you're sitting there lifting weights, it'll actually help you build muscle. So if you take the 4 Restore during the exercise and you take the RIP after the exercise, immediately after, you're going to find that your body's going to start, it's going to start building muscle really quickly. And that's what a lot of us need. And then, you know, Andrea, I'm going to let you talk about the H2 sticks, because you were talking about the H pill and how the H pill helps with hydrogen production and ATP. Tell a little bit about the H2 sticks.
Well, the H2 sticks is basically a formulation of natural ingredients that separate hydrogen from oxygen in water. So you simply dump it in your water, you cover it up tight for 15 minutes, and then you drink it within 15 minutes. The actual studies from research show, not on our product, but from drinking hydrogen water, that there is a weight loss element to that. It's also excellent for inflammation, along with about 27 other health benefits that affect every system in your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's so many things. I mean, Andrea, so what do you think? You think we covered weight loss? I mean, and this was just an introductory call, because I think we should talk about this now for maybe, I mean, let's plan on talking about for the next 6 or 8 weeks into January, maybe even longer, just to keep people on their motivation. Sure.
Well, this has been a long one today, so we will have to continue it next week.
There you go. So we'll get more specific next week and talk about maybe how to lose that 3 pounds that you gained on Thursday.
Right.
They say that the average person gains 3 pounds at Thanksgiving and another 3 pounds at Christmas. And so you could be great at weight loss all year round, and then the last month of the year you could gain an extra 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah.
If that's what you wanted to do.
Well, thank you, Doc, for being on the call again this Tuesday. We really appreciate that every week. Dr. Kurt Visnick is giving us his time and his valuable information and education, sharing it with us to offer us ways to optimize our health and maybe offer some insight into things we never understood before. So each Tuesday at noon, you can come on the Facebook page, Doctor's Clinic, Doc Fizz with Friends, and watch the live. Of course, a lot of people work during Tuesday at noon Eastern time. So if that's you, you can go back on that page at any time and scroll back and watch any live presentation that you want to. They're all stored there. On top of that, Doc has them in his YouTube channel called Sizzle World Team, and you will find it under the toolbar of videos. When you go in there, click on videos.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrea.
Have a great holiday. Everyone else have a great holiday too.
You bet. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.